Welcome to SHAVASPACE Radio. Welcome to our weekend tea time, coming to you from Shonan, Japan. On this show, creators in our 30s making art, film, and other projects share the stories you don't usually hear, the behind the scenes, the walls we're hitting right now in real time, and the things we want to try next. The trailer for our film Trolley is now on YouTube. Please check it from the description when you have a minute. We are recording from Shonan with two chubby cats nearby, probably sleeping, probably judging us. Alright, grab your tea, grab a snack, and hang out with that for a bit. Now, episode 3. Today we are talking about 2012 anime film Ashura. More specifically, we will dive into how it portrays hunger, violence, and the painful act of staying alive. And the real question behind it is this: what does it mean to live like a human in a world that feels like hell? The story of Ashura takes place in Japan during a brutal time of famine and chaos. Right from the opening, villages are starving and the landscape feels almost apocalyptic, and people are pushed far beyond what we usually imagine as normal life. Right from the opening, the film throws us into what feels like a living hell. A baby is born and his mother is so desperate from hunger that she tries to throw him into the fire and eat him. The child's very first cry is screamed from inside the frames. This single scene already feels like a punch to the chest, and it sets the tone of the entire film. As the boy somehow survives and grows up, he does not become human in the usual sense. He has no one to teach him language or kindness, so he lives like a beast, walking on all fours, killing animals and even people, and eating human flesh just to survive. Watching that, I felt my heart getting squeezed. It was so disturbing, but I also couldn't look away. At some point, this boy encounters a monk who becomes the first person to treat him as something more than just a wild animal. The monk gives him food, tells him to call himself Ashura, and teach him a single phrase and a Buddhist chant to say when he eats. In a world where everything is about survival, this small act of naming and teaching a word becomes a first fragile bridge toward humanity. Kenji's view was that this early part of the story shows how thin the line is between human and the beast when they're starving. What I took from Kenji's perspective was that the film is not dark just to shock us. It is asking, if you are truly starving, are you sure you'd stay the same person you think you are now? From here, Ashura's life could have changed, but the film chooses a much harsher path. And that path begins with a woman who shows him a real kindness. Later in the story, Ashura meets a woman who treats him with a warmth. This is almost motherly. She gives him food, plays with him by a river, and lets him experience a kind of ordinary joy he has never known. Under her care, he gradually starts to change. He smiles, he learns a few words, and he looks less like a beast and more like a young boy. For me, these scenes were incredibly tender preciously because they are surrounded by so much darkness. Just watching him eat calmly or play with someone felt like finally being allowed to breathe. Kenji's point was that this contrast between warmth and horror is what gives the film its emotional power. What I took from Kenji's perspective was that without this small, gentle moment, the film is just cruel. With them, it becomes a story about what we still long for even in hellish conditions. But this fragile sense of safety is broken when the woman decides to run away with a man she loves. From Ashura's point of view, the one person he finally trusted is suddenly leaving him behind. He feels abandoned, overwhelmed by jealousy and rage, and he runs back into violence, killing and eating people again. Watching that, I felt something very human in his reaction, even though his actions are extreme. When someone who has finally opened up is suddenly rejected or left, they can lose control of themselves even if they do not become murderers. At one point, Ashura cries out, blaming his own existence. He screamed that he should never have been born into such a painful world. That line hit me very deeply because it is a feeling many people may have had at some point, even if they never said it out loud. Kenji's view was that this kind of raw, honest emotion can be strangely healing for viewers. What I took from his perspective was that by seeing a character say the unsayable, we may feel less alone with our own dark thoughts. After Ashura breaks down, the monk appears again, and his words shift the entire meaning of the story. When the monk finds Ashura again, he is shocked to hear such a young boy say he regrets being born. The monk then explained that humans and other animals are different because humans have a heart. In this context, something like reason and moral awareness. Beasts follow their instincts and do not suffer in the same way from what they do, but humans feel pain when they live like a beast. The monk point is that living like a beast is actually harder for people than living like a human. To make this painfully clear, the monk performs an extreme act. He offers his own arm to Ashura as food, trusting that Ashura will no longer be able to eat it. He tells Ashura that if he cannot eat it, this is proof he has become human. It is a shocking scene, but at the same time, it is an act of radical faith in Ashura's humanity. After this, Ashura begins to shift. He may not suddenly become a polite, civilized character, but he carries a sense that he is not only a beast. Meanwhile, the world around him remains cruel. Famine, exploration, and death continue, and he loses people who were precious to him. By the end, the film does not give us a clear answer or whether Ashura has truly become human in the social sense. Instead, it turns the question back on us. In a desperate world, are we really so different from him? The monk closes the story with a message that deeply moved me. Humans struggle, fight, and sometimes lose control, but preciously in that desperate effort to live, there is kind of beauty. Kenji's view was that this connects our broader idea of beauty in art. Beauty not as something pretty or decorative, but as something deeply truthful. He talked about paintings that show suffering and ugliness, but still feel profound because they do not lie about reality. What I took from his perspective was that beauty can exist even in things we never want to experience ourselves, like famine, violence, or despair, when they are shown with honesty and care. For me, Ashura was not beautiful in the usual sense, but it felt honest about how painful life can be, and that honesty itself felt almost sacred. By the time that credit rolled, I felt exhausted but strangely grateful. Grateful that film dared to look straight at the parts of life we usually try not to see and still say, even in all this, living is worth something. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for spending this tea time with me and with this very heavy but deeply honest film. So, very soon, the full version of our film trilogy will finally be able to watch online. When it is ready, please check it from link in the description. SHAVASPACE also runs a small fan club. There we share real-time updates on our film project through blog post, and you can listen to our soundtrack as much as you like. The next project is Ranunculus Bakery. It is a fantasy magical story. We are prepared several perks that are only available there, so please have a look at page if you are interested. Until next time, I hope your own path, however messy or difficult, can still feel a little bit meaningful today. See you in the next episode. It's Haruna from SHAVASPACE.